It's Saturday morning at the farmers market in the Saskatchewan riding of Saskatoon West, and the NDP's Sherry Benson is making the rounds.
I'm Sherry Benson.
Hi Sherry, I'm Gary.
Nice to meet you, Gary. And I'm the candidate here in this.
I figured that.
Did you figure that?
Okay.
And how is it going at the farmers market? You like it?
It's like a hobby.
I'm Sherry Benson. I'm the candidate for the NDP in this riding.
I'm one of your constituents.
Oh, nice to
My
meet you,
name's Naomi.
Naomi. Where do you live?
In Riversdale here, really close to the
Okay.
farmers market. Well, best of luck.
Hey, thanks very much.
Best of luck.
Now, are you someone that would like a sign? Are you sign people?
Maybe.
Think about it.
The husband,
Yeah.
Maybe not so much.
Yeah,
I
no.
would be okay.
Yeah,
But
it's important to
we
have
would be okay
agreement.
with like an anyone but Harper sign.
Right. We don't have
The
those.
not blue sign.
Yes, gotcha. Well, that's an orange sign in this riding.
And you're Sherry. I'm Cheryl Hewitt, and I'm coming to help you.
Oh, Cheryl.
Yes.
With responses like these, things are looking good for Benson. Many people think that you're going to win in this riding. How do you feel about that? How do you respond to that?
Well, I think on the doorstep I've certainly felt that support. It feels good out there. I think there's still many days left in the election. There's still lots of people I need to meet.
Benson's opponents also feel well positioned.
My focus is on meeting as many residents of Saskatoon as I can, hearing about their concerns, so that when we win, I can accurately represent them in Ottawa.
I've kind of always fashioned myself as the underdog. I've kind of lived my life that way. So I like being in the position where you might be a little underestimated, or the party might not have the strong, I guess, roots that other parties have. But I think it makes us work harder. And I'm really, the only place we can go is up.
But Sherry Benson may be the one to beat, even though there hasn't been an NDP MP elected in Saskatchewan in 15 years. Extraordinary in a province that was the birthplace of the NDP's predecessor, the CCF, and Medicare.
I'm polling very well and have been polling very well right from the beginning, but this is the first time I have run as a candidate, and I want to make sure that I am out there and meeting people, so I'm not taking anything for granted. I think for the volunteers that are involved in the campaign, sort of the win in Alberta and some of the momentum that we're feeling is certainly it's kind of the wind beneath their wings and sort of keeps them going, because it's going to be and is a very long campaign, and we're going to really need to rely on a lot of people putting in lots of extra days of effort. I'm Sherry. I'm the NDP candidate in this neighborhood.
Aside from effort, there are other reasons why there may well be an NDP win in Saskatoon West. For NDP supporters in Saskatchewan, the question on their minds is clear. Can the NDP finally win a seat in this province? Out of Saskatchewan's 14 seats, 13 are Conservative, 1 is Liberal. But the boundaries of this riding changed for 2015, and now the newly formed Saskatoon West favors the NDP. The riding used to include a large rural component where Conservative support was high. Even so, in 2011, the Conservative candidate won by only 538 votes over the NDP challenger. Now, with the boundary change, the riding is completely urban, where NDP support is stronger.
The elimination of that rural sector, I think if you transpose the results from 2011 to this riding, you're getting close to a 2,000 vote win for the NDP, so they should win handily in that sense. But of course, this is a rather conservative province, and the Conservatives are running a well-known Saskatoon City Councillor that might pull in votes from other sources.
That City Councillor is Randy Donauer. He says he isn't concerned about the new boundaries. The riding is a new one, and there's no incumbent here. Of course. The boundaries were redrawn. There was an awful lot of Conservative support in the rural areas. Now that that component does not exist, how is that going to affect your chances here?
Yeah, well, that changed the demographics of the riding, but, Saskatchewan's a changing place. It's not what it used to be 15 or 20 years ago, and we're finding the West End reinventing itself. Places like Riversdale and 20th Street used to be places that people from the rest of the city avoided going. Now they're the trendy place. It's reinventing itself. That's where the cool coffee shops and cafes are. We've got a lot of young couples moving into the West End. That's where they're buying their first house. We find wherever we go in the West End, there are pockets of conservative support in all neighborhoods. And so we've actually been quite pleasantly surprised as we go door to door to find that there are conservative supporters spread throughout the entire West End. And I'm encouraged by it so far.
Lisa Abbott says the boundary change is a game changer.
I think actually it's the first time in a long time that the Liberals have an opportunity to make some gains in these urban centres because of the change in the urban boundary. You no longer have that rural-urban split. Where some people might have been parking their vote with the NDP because it was a vote against the Conservatives or vice versa. I think that with the new boundaries, it could be a legitimate three-way race.
The riding is one of great contrasts, from extreme poverty in its core areas to affluence at its outer fringes. About 77,000 people live here, and average income is $35,000 per person, the third lowest individual income in the province. The new urban Saskatoon West brings many of the social issues here sharply into focus. A large part of the riding is quite poor. I think the statistics are that 23% of people in the riding make less than $15,000 a year. What's in the Conservative platform for people who are on the edge like that?
Yeah, well, our platform has been one to grow the economy and give everybody the opportunity to have a job. As Conservatives, we believe that the best thing we can do for someone is to give them a job and give them self-sufficiency, give them some self-pride. And so we've been very focused on that, though we do have a portion of our constituency that still does live below the poverty line. We've created an environment here in Saskatchewan and in Canada where there are jobs available to people.
Sherry Benson, a social worker by trade and the CEO of the United Way, is hearing about other issues.
Childcare, housing, and transportation. There's lots of small neighborhoods in this riding, about 25 of them, and in every single one of those, and we've managed to touch and be in at least most of them, almost all of them. Though that's the thing. So,
and that's what you're hearing on the doorstep as well.
The life is, things aren't affordable, and housing is a big one. It's a big one. You have to have a place to live, and so all the other things sort of you have to forfeit or juggle around. But yeah, and I think the one I was most surprised about was transportation. It sort of reminded me that we are a bigger city, and transportation, public transportation is expensive here.
The plenitude of the farmers' market is in stark contrast to a grim reality. Food is an issue as well. Here we are at the farmers' market. There's so much abundance here, and yet not far from here there's a soup kitchen.
Yeah, and there's actually more than one.
More than one?
More than one, yeah.
What does that say about this riding?
I think it tells you a bit of the diversity of the riding. It tells you a bit about maybe the growing inequity. There are people in this riding that are doing very well and can do a lot of their shopping here. And there is a large group of people who can't come here and buy fresh vegetables, local, and those kinds of things. And that whole sort of non-profit world around, like the food bank is not too far from here. We have the Friendship Inn. We have a couple of very large churches that do regular lunches and meals. And the other thing in this neighborhood is there's no sort of grocery store, right? They've all moved out into the suburbs. We have a couple of small organizations trying to get co-ops going, and actually just this week we've had another grocery store close over in a neighborhood not too far from here. So we need to talk about access to food, and when you start talking about transportation not being affordable, when you start talking about housing not being affordable, we really need to sort of see how those things fit together.
You're going to hug me?
Yes, why not?
So, are you going to be voting in this election?
It's lunchtime and people are starting to congregate outside the Friendship Inn. Lisa Abbott is busy registering voters.
Well, the Friendship Inn is one of our soup kitchens. It operates 7 days a week, For the neighborhoods of Riversdale and Pleasant Hill, it provides up to 900 meals a day, and a lot of people rely on the Friendship Inn. Basically, it might be their only meal that they're having today.
Inside, the center is full. It's a further opportunity to spread the Liberal message.
And this letter, Sandy will sign it for you. And when I come back on Monday, if you get her to sign it, I'll photocopy all your stuff and we'll get you registered to vote. Okay, so I'll leave that with you.
Where will I go and vote?
They will send you where you should vote, but we're helping people get to the advanced polls. So even if you need a ride to the advanced polls, we'll drive you.
What was the response inside?
It was generally very favorable. I think that there is a lot of motivation to vote in this election. I think people are excited to vote, but there is still the practical issues of having proper ID. If you can't register online, you have to actually register by paper and photocopy your ID, sign forms. So there's a lot of, effort it's going to take to mobilize.
Now, First Nations people make up about 20% of the electorate.
Yes.
Yet they account for just about 1 to 2% of the vote.
Yes.
Why is that?
I think a lot of times there's apathy, partially because people believe that their vote doesn't count. The new boundaries in Saskatoon West really changed that, particularly for First Nations and Métis voters in Saskatoon. They become 20% of the potential vote. So reaching out to that group and making sure that they are, informed about how to vote. I believe that after 10 years of Prime Minister, there's the motivation to vote. So we're actually probably going to be seeing a lot more people turn out at the polls.
Abbott is a human rights lawyer and a community activist. A large part of her work deals with reaching out to the Aboriginal population. How important is it for the First Nations community to have an Aboriginal candidate running for office?
I think it's really important for our government to be representative of diverse populations. And I think that for First Nations, seeing an Aboriginal candidate run, in some ways, it's inspiring and empowering.
And will it translate into votes for you?
Well, I sure hope so. We are going to work very hard, of course, and earn every single vote that we get. But it really is going to be, we really are going to have to make the extra effort to get people out.
While poverty is an issue, another important issue for the community includes missing and murdered Indigenous women. The Liberals and NDP want an inquiry, but the Conservatives have rejected that. How do you feel about the Conservative stance on missing and murdered Indigenous women?
Well, that's an issue that is particularly troubling for me. Aboriginal women have experienced the full blunt force of colonization and assimilation, and it's kind of the, the pinnacle of that relationship. The fact that women are experiencing such unconscionable levels of violence in their lives.
And how do you feel about the way the Conservatives are dealing with it?
I don't think they are dealing with it. I think that, Prime Minister Harper's comments last December that it's not high on his radar, I think that was extremely disheartening, because this isn't a First Nations issue. It's fundamentally a human rights issue, and it's not something that, it's a Canadian issue. So I think that it was really, really one of the reasons why I wanted to run as well.
Yeah, the Conservative platform on that is that there's been 40 studies or inquiries done on this issue already. The police and the RCMP have been very clear that we know what the problem is. They just need action to deal with it. And so having another inquiry, if people travel the country to study the issue, isn't the solution. What we need is we need to take action. Already we found that most of these people, when they looked at the stats, most of the crimes are solved and most of the people involved in them are convicted, and we need to keep taking action to deal with it as an overall crime issue. We don't need another study.
The purpose of this evening is we're having a roundtable discussion just on the issue of missing and murdered Indigenous women. It's a very heavy topic, but I am glad that we're all here this evening to talk about that.
This roundtable on missing and murdered Indigenous women held in Saskatoon West underscores the need for more attention.
We launched the Sisters in Spirit initiative, and we really worked hard to help families bring that voice to the national the national arena. So it's such an honor to be able to have this discussion tonight, and so I'm just thankful and grateful that you're all here today.
Present is MP Carolyn Bennett, Liberal critic on Aboriginal affairs. She says some things are changing, but not nearly enough.
The people of Canada started to understand that these weren't just numbers. These were real people and families and missing, and that just you can't look at without crying. I think we've had some movement since then, and that this isn't nameless people, and that we do care, and that Canada cares. And that time and time now again, the Prime Minister has demonstrated he's on the wrong side of history.
On the same evening, Randy Donauer is at a memorial tribute for fallen firefighters.
Well, tonight is the 14th anniversary of 9/11, and the Saskatoon firefighters have an annual memorial. In my role on City Council, one thing I get to do is work with the police and the fire and attend their annual awards nights, and it's actually quite humbling to participate in those and to come to events like this where we're remembering those that have gone ahead of them and lost their lives in the course of service to the community.
Donauer spends his days preparing to meet constituents.
The biggest thing that we hear about in Saskatoon West is the economy and security. People want to know that they have a job. People want to know that the economy of the country is doing well. And security is a big issue, both domestic and overseas. There's crime issues in parts of our constituency. People want to know that they have a leader in Ottawa who's listening to them, who's going to defend them and make their community safer. And we hear about people concerned about what's happening overseas with ISIS as well. We've had some domestic attacks, and people want to know what the government's doing about those issues. And quite frankly, they appreciate the leadership that Prime Minister Harper has exhibited on those.
But the issue dominating the news is the Syrian refugee crisis. Is Harper's stand on that affecting you?
No, I think people like Harper stand on that. You know, he's been speaking to this issue about Syria and ISIS and what's happening overseas for months. And the other leaders are actually late to the table on this. Canada as a whole has the most generous immigration policy in the world. I used to work with immigration, and I know that per capita, we accept more immigrants each year than any other country in the world on a per capita basis. And we have a very generous refugee program. It's balanced. So it's not knee-jerk reactionary to the latest issue, but it does react to global issues as a whole.
I'm wondering if you're hearing anything about that on the doorsteps, and if Mr. Harper's stance on that issue is affecting you, helping you.
Sure. Well, we certainly, last week we had lots of people that live in my riding organize, and actually just met one of the women here, organize a rally on Sunday to say that we welcomed refugees and asked the government to step up their efforts. I've dealt with phone calls and emails about people sort of wanting to know why we aren't doing more from my riding. And I think, this is a riding of people that have come from all over the world and have been welcomed here. And would like to see us continue to extend that, and would like to see, and in the wake of the crisis, I mean, this is the largest one that most of us in my lifetime have ever seen. And people do want Canada to be a leader in that and be seen as welcoming. And for some people, they don't feel that that's there.
It's a humanitarian issue. I know that what's happening in Syria, it really did, touch the hearts of a lot of Canadians. So it is an issue that we've been hearing at the doors, that it's something that, Canada has to do a better job with dealing with, dealing with that humanitarian issue.
For all the candidates, the strategy includes a rigorous door-knocking campaign.
I'm the Liberal candidate for this riding, and we're just canvassing the neighborhood today. Okay. Have you made up your mind on how you might be voting this year?
Really, it's just important to me that the Conservative candidate doesn't win.
Okay,
So,
okay.
Really, whoever has the better chance of winning this riding.
Okay.
I think I'll be voting for.
So you'll be watching the polls closely, or that's how you'll make your decision?
Yeah.
Okay. We also have a really good plan for the fairness and all of that other good stuff. We're making some major investments in infrastructure. I think we have like the most progressive platform. So can we stay in touch with you closer to the election?
Yeah, like there's a lot that I do like about the Liberal platform.
Okay.
There's a few things that Justin Trudeau has done that I don't support.
Okay.
But yeah, it'll be between one of the two of you.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Hello! I thought I should come say hi. Good. I don't know if we've ever met.
I don't think we have.
No,
Yeah.
I'm Sherry Benson. I'm the candidate.
I see that.
What are the issues for you this election?
Just get rid of Harper.
Yeah.
Yep. General consensus.
Yeah, it's a theme.
Yeah.
It's a theme.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's certainly a theme that, especially in this riding, that the NDP are the party to do that. I've been on leave from my job for about 9 months, and the first thing I did was start to reach out to volunteers and to new people and to get them involved. So lots of volunteers just talking about the issues. We've made a very concerted effort that this is a positive campaign. We're going to talk about what people can vote for. And that's really resonating on the doorstep. People aren't into negative campaigning or sort of pointing out personal things about people. They want to hear you talk about issues.
As you know, there is an election coming up on October the 19th, and we were wondering if Randy Dunn, our Conservative Party, can count on your support.
Well, starting tomorrow, we're going to be doing another door-knocking blitz. I think monitoring the Facebook page, I think we're going to get fairly good turnout to that.
Good.
So yeah, and as you know, the last one we did, we covered a significant part of the riding.
Yeah. It takes an awful lot of stamina to run a campaign. What kinds of things are you doing, and how difficult is it?
Well, for us, meeting as many residents and talking to as many people as we can is the most important issue. And so we're knocking morning, afternoon, and evening every day. And so we're up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm out knocking on doors before 10 o'clock in the morning. I do a morning shift, an afternoon shift, an evening shift. Volunteers come with me whenever they're able to. And probably finishing up 8 or 8:30 at night when the sun goes down and headed home. So they're very full days.
Now, the NDP has been pegged, as you know, to be the winner here. What's your response to that?
Well, my response is that I think people will get a surprise on Election Day, because that's not what I'm seeing when I go door to door.
A surprise like that could result from vote splitting, but Benson isn't concerned about that, and she doesn't think people need to vote strategically in this riding.
What seems to be what people are responding to on the doorstep is they can vote for what they want to see in Ottawa, and for many people in this riding for many years that has been NDP policies and NDP leadership. So I think the progressive vote in this riding has always been NDP, and it's been an NDP conservative contest and competition in this riding, and the progressive vote is with the NDP historically, and I certainly don't see any difference this time either.
Listening to seniors is another way for Benson to stay in touch. This coffee party is taking place on the day that Tom Mulcair promised $1.8 billion for seniors' health care. It was the topic of conversation, along with the high cost of living.
So I'm literally dependent on what the government pays me. Yeah. But now, because I don't have a partner any longer who had a health care plan, I'm now paying for all my drugs, and I choose whether I get my glasses done or my teeth fixed or whatever. And that's not a good choice to be having to think about as you age. And my kids are very good. Luckily, they're in a position to help out. So they say, Mum, if your prescription goes up too much or you need something, call us. But otherwise, I'd be, like many people, choosing whether to eat or buy medicine or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, you need a roof over your head, and that gets priority. And I think we can all. I mean, none of us want to be in that position, but you can understand making that decision that is where the money goes first, and then there's sort of things fall off. I think food is often good healthy food is one that lots of people go without, or that kind of thing, in order to afford drugs.
Food was, in fact, the hot issue at this all-candidates forum. Sherry Benson and Lisa Abbott committed to the forum. Randy Donauer chose not to attend.
But we are looking forward to doing an all-candidates forum. We've got a number of invitations to come to various different events and candidates forums. We're going to have to pick which all-candidate forum we go to or which ones we don't, but I have committed that we do want to find one that works for my schedule and make sure we participate in it.
That it's very disrespectful to not attend those all-candidate forums. I think it's disrespectful to the voters. I think they should have an opportunity to a fulsome debate. They should also have an opportunity to see where the candidates stand on the issues.
I'm disappointed. I think the community needs to hear all the alternatives and who you are and what you're going to do. It's important to have a government, the government represented, in some of these debates. I think it's important to at least have that conversation with voters and people in the riding to talk about what are we going to do. As I sort of talked about, we have 4 or 5 organizations just a stone's throw away from here that are involved in helping people who can't afford to buy food. And we need to talk about how we can work together on that.
Working together is what this event is all about. The candidates have taken a pause from running for office to walk for charity.
We're here for the AIDS Walk for Life. This is a really important issue, especially for Saskatchewan, because we have one of the highest HIV rates in the country. For Indigenous peoples, they're 14 times more likely to contract that illness. So it's really important for the community to come together and support that very vulnerable community.
I'm here today walking because in Saskatchewan, AIDS is still a really big story, where in other communities things have gotten better, things have gotten worse here. And especially for our Indigenous peoples in Saskatchewan. And so I'm glad to be here with everyone else in the community. And it's important that it's here in this part of Saskatoon.
On the same day, across town, Randy Donauer and Sherry Benson are participating in a walk for ovarian cancer.
You keeping well?
Yeah? Still hanging in there?
One of the people on our campaign team, his wife actually just died of ovarian cancer within the past year, so him and his daughter are out here today too, remembering her. The 1-year anniversary of her passing just went by, and we're out here to support them as well. When we come to events like this, we're respecting the event and the fact that they're out here to raise money and raise awareness for cancer research. So we're here to support them. We're not here to take over their event.
Although I haven't had a family member affected by ovarian cancer, I have 2 volunteers that I've worked with in the past die from the disease. And I guess the other reason I'm here is to raise awareness and the fact that I have 2 daughters. So yeah, just here to hang out with all the other supporters and provide my support for that.
For CPAC, I'm Kenneth Bell in Saskatoon West.